Hey everybody, we are recording the episode 100. My goodness.
I think we may have talked about it once or twice.
Yeah, a couple times. Obviously, I'm Jared Dyke.
I'm Ben Glauser.
And with us is the man, the myth, the legend, and the absolutely awesome George, Fantasy Rugby Geek. How are you, buddy? Crack a beer for us. This is celebratory. We don't need a reason to.
Gentlemen, it's an honor to be with you today. 100 episodes. Wow. Where has that time gone?
Yeah, I don't know how we got there.
I don't either. But we did somehow.
Who cares?
Yeah, well, actually, I know how we got here.
Yeah, we were stubborn.
Well, one of us was stubborn. One of us had been talking about this for a little bit, a couple of weeks, maybe a couple months. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, that's, cool. And that seems like something to do in the future. And
it's amazing. And guys, congratulations. First of all, we've got lots of questions to go through today, but I just want to congratulate you guys.
Yeah, we have.
Huge milestone. It wasn't that long. I wasn't that long in the game of sticking stuff out on the internet.
Whoa.
You can't mark a milestone without something to actually
oh my god
to celebrate.
That's really cool. That's really awesome.
See if you can get it up to the
let's see if everybody can see that. That was Ben and I's first recording together.
Wow.
Yeah. That was us the first time.
That was the first time Ben and I recorded. Look at it. Look at our microphones are all the wrong way. We didn't know better. We just
that was before we even started. It was just a
it's amazing. And look, great things start from small beginnings. And I wasn't long in the game of just sticking stuff out on the internet about fantasy rugby when you guys came online. Back then, there was no one else doing it. And I stumbled across you guys on Twitter. I was like, who are these guys?
We were saying the same thing.
Yeah, I was like,
who are we? And who's this guy? All right, well, let's...
And, back then, we were finding our feet and working out what the hell we were doing. But fast forward a couple of years, and we've gone so far. I mean, doing things like the FRD show with Sam Roberts.
Yes.
And, I just want to pay tribute. You're putting great stuff out that often goes way beyond fantasy rugby. You're always supportive of everyone else in the fantasy rugby space, whether it's me, who just blogs about fantasy rugby and chat shit on Twitter, talented guys like Ed Kerr from the Rugby Mag, who's he's creating something special with his game. Yeah. He's actually making a difference in the rugby world with his Rugby Restart initiative.
Yeah. Right.
So you guys rock, and from the rest of the fantasy rugby world, congrats on 100 episodes. And
thank you.
Cheers.
Sir.
Cheers to the next 100.
Hey, cheers, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
That means a lot because, this is it's a growing community. We're seeing now professional players getting involved and
great,
it is growing, but it does require support from each other. And that's one of the things we'll get to it later as to why we got into rugby, but it's such about, supporting each other and being there when your friend needs help, you help them.
Absolutely.
And Jared all of a sudden sends me this link of him on a podcast, like doing this. And I'm like, well,
oh no,
I guess I'm doing this. It wasn't it wasn't a question at that point.
That wasn't an invite. That was you're getting on this soon.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
That was absolutely
the humblest of beginnings. I'm listening to Jared, like he's got a really good idea and really good stuff, but it's just him talking, and that's not going to work.
The monologue doesn't work.
No, it was so painful to do that, and it was just like, what? And you have no and I'm sure somebody out there has an idea, how many times I had to restart myself after stuttering through God knows how much and just spitting out nonsense. And I was like, that didn't make I thought back to it every time that I did a unit, and I'm like, that didn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. So I'm going to redo that and chopping and changing
And then you realize after a while that it's like, I just said something didn't make sense. I'm just going to go just move past it. On the next thing.
Yeah.
Keep moving. Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of support from the fantasy rugby community. Isn't huge right now, obviously, but the great thing about that is it's everybody's trying to lift each other up. And the fact that, I mean, let's be real. If I had gotten a boatload of shit, I'm not sure I would have done another episode, If I had gotten just so much shit that I couldn't handle it, I'm not sure I would have done another one.
We didn't get any. We haven't really gotten much of anything.
No,
so that's nice.
A little stick here and there, but that's good for the soul.
Usually about like, why did you have this guy sit? Because we don't like him this week.
I don't know. I don't like him.
Sorry, he's your favorite player, but
that's the nature of the game, though. We've all made picks that have absolutely stunk.
Yeah,
but that's why it's the game we love. Sometimes it just kicks you in the arse, and other times you could come up with a really sort of out there pick that ends up, banging in a hat trick.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, that's not what I expected.
Right.
Yeah.
Like nobody saw Odogwu this year turning into what he's turned into, and now he's
in camp. Yeah.
Where's he come? I mean, at Sale he was pretty inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Even last season he wasn't setting the world alight, but wow, he's coming.
Sounds a lot like Cameron Redpath, inconsistent at Sale and suddenly an international himself.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Sanderson will fix that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like rewind for Odogwu back to the Kung Fu kick. I was just like, oh, that's the right card. Yeah. And his reaction to it was not good either.
It was not good.
He knows it, but he knew it later on. But at the time, it was very poor. And I was just like, dude, you just karate kicked the dude to the face. You're definitely off. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Yeah, so it was really good that I didn't care if I got nothing. Nothing was better than getting shit. Honestly, like I don't like throwing it out into the ether is easy. Like throwing it out into the ether and getting shit on back, that's tough. I'm not sure I would have kept going if I had gotten that. So at the very least, that didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. If you consider the cesspool that is Twitter, it's quite amazing the fact that we are able to stick this stuff out. We're not always 100% correct, but generally the amount of abuse that I get back is pretty minimal. I'm sure the same for you guys.
Yeah, for the most part.
So I mean, that's good that it's the community that we're in. I guess that speaks highly of it. And as you mentioned, Ed, has been fantastic to everybody. Has just been fantastic to us. So it's just either we're doing something right, or at least we got to the right people. We're with the right people.
Something about that.
Such as yourself.
Something about that. Something there.
Yeah. It makes it a lot of fun. It's one of these sometimes when I'm like, you know what, it's mid-season. Can we skip this week? No, it's not.
Let's keep going.
And it's always worth it. It always puts a smile on my face. This is fun to do. It's not just that obviously we don't do this for the accolades, because it's not. If
you haven't noticed, we don't get many.
Right. And that's okay. We do it for ourselves and for the fun of it and for the community. So it's a side project that obviously for us, but it's something we like, we enjoy. So
let's be real. If we didn't have supportive significant others, I'm sure George can attest to that as well.
Yeah, having a very, very patient and forgiving spouse has been extremely helpful.
Well, especially
that's true of everything, because I married a rugby player, and so we're just used to doing our own thing as well. Because I'll be going off to my men's club, she's going off to her women's club. We'll meet up. We go to tournaments together. Like Saranac. And like a bunch of the guys are like, "Where's your wife, Ben?" And I'm like, "She's off with her team.
She's doing whatever the fuck she wants."
like we'll see each other at the bar later.
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
bar's not going anywhere.
Makes sense.
Yeah. No, I'm in a similar position. Like, I played rugby up until I was 35, and then we had 3 kids in very quick succession, and that forced me to hang up the boots.
Yeah.
And then from then on, I needed something else. And fantasy sports, I've always been quite a fan of it. And it just grew and grew. I built the website on the train going to work each day. And nice little side passion. It's great.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a great site. It's full of fantastic information every week. It's one of the things I check as I'm making I go through it. I'm like, if I don't check it first, I check it last. It's like, wait, I have my opinions, but I got to see what George says before I can, just throw them as a sanity check and nothing else.
Am I off my rocker or not here?
Yeah, it's a good point, actually, sanity checking. But the other thing is, like, doing it on a Friday, the last few Fridays, it's been a little bit challenging writing the picks at the same time as trying to get my team.
I know we're in kind of the same boat. We're trying to do the sheet,
the pain.
That big page, and at the same time, we're trying to make sure that we don't screw our fantasy teams out of everything.
So while FRD is spinning, I'm okay.
Oh my
I
God!
can add some names here and there. Like, I think I've added this guy.
Pretty please, pretty please.
I'll make an update to the sheet.
Yeah. It's like add a guy, write a bit more of the picks.
Right.
Yeah, that's all you can really do.
Yeah.
And I mean, now that
it's really funny when you go through it, like you're like, okay, oh, Wasps, Rollins is starting. I'm gonna throw him in, and then all of a sudden you go down the line and like 2 teams later, and you're like, shit. JP Dupree is available. Why for sale?
Yeah.
Why did they add Rollins?
Right. It's like, God damn it!
I didn't.
Why was I thinking of that?
I just wasn't looking through that. Yeah, because I was looking through the Wasps team, not
you
not
weren't
sale at the time. Yet.
You weren't and you look at sometimes you only get stuck, especially for you and I, where we're doing select teams.
Right.
You get stuck looking at one team a lot, so you get married into one person, and just by recency bias or the several times, however many times it's in your brain.
Right.
And then you forget, oh, fuck, this guy that I haven't looked at because he's not on our team. I was like, God damn it. I've done that at least 10 times, easily.
I'd be interested to hear actually people's techniques on a Friday. The problem is I'm in way too many leagues as it is as well.
Yeah, well, as you're...
Have a set process as to what they do. Do they just focus on outside backs first, midfielders? Do they look at certain teams first, certain teams that they think will do well? Even when the website's working fine, it's a mad dash to find people.
Oh, absolutely.
Certainly.
Well, especially if you're, in the league that we're all in, that is cutthroat. Like get the guys you need now, because they will not be there tomorrow.
Like Anton, I snuck in. I can't remember who I got in front of him, and there was someone else. I think Carrick picked up someone as I hit the button and it was doing the spin. And then I was like, okay, who do you want to drop? And I was like, this person, and did the spin. And it was like, Carrick already signed this. I'm like, son of a bitch.
in that 5 seconds, I was like, God damn it,
snuck right in there, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's how it always. That's the life of fantasy, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things.
And that's what's great. I mean, that's what makes it fun. The waiver wire has always been big with fantasy football. Do you get the guy before anybody else does? Like, but then it's slightly different with football because everybody plays every week.
Yeah, so, the guys are playing.
Right.
Yeah. End of story.
And so it's like, I'm going to pick this guy up because eventually, like especially like a rookie or something like that in football, for you're going to pick a guy up because he's like, maybe he doesn't contribute right away. He's still sorting out his ass from his elbow. But like by week 8, 9, 10, he may be getting like 100 yards a game and a major contributor. Yeah. So I'm going to pick him up and hold on to him. You can't really do that with fantasy
stash.
Yeah. Can't really do that. And I enjoy that.
There's no hiding room.
Right. So it's like, all right, first come, here he is. For us, 7 a.m. on a Friday.
Yeah, right.
Go nuts. How is that? So we have our experience where it's first thing in the morning before I'm technically at work. I start my day around 8.
Yeah.
COVID helps with that. Before I'd probably actually be at work. But so how is it for you that it happens around lunchtime on a
Midday,
Friday?
So it's bang on lunch break time.
Yeah.
And I may block out my calendar because.
Do you ever get stuck in a meeting like an 11 o'clock?
I don't want to get stuck in meetings.
It's like 5 to go, and you're like, you like to get another 10 minutes in the meeting at least.
Yeah, I mean, my
guys, bye.
I have so many meetings anyways at work normally, so it's just like, fine, right, this is my time. It's lunch break. I'm doing it however I see fit, and I'm updating my FRD team. So there you go. But,
yep, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
be done. So that makes it really hard when we have like the issues that we had on week 1 and a couple of weeks ago. It's just a nightmare. And if it gets to 1 o'clock, it's just like, you know what, I'm just going to come back later.
The worst is for both of these times that where it's gone really bad. I had my team pretty well sorted already, and I was like fortunate to not have to worry too much. But then my team shit the bed. So it's like all the people who were like stressing out, and then maybe they didn't feel that. Like, was it Carrick who didn't play like 4 players against you and still? Oh,
he still smashed me.
Like,
it's weird, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, it's super weird.
And then Carrick got a total score of -1 a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he went from -1 to getting well over 100 with like 5 guys.
Yeah,
I was like, what the fuck?
What a game.
Goddamn.
But guys, it's episode 100, and we've got some questions for you.
Oh, yes, we do.
There we go.
Yes, we do.
So, I mean, first up, I think everyone wants to know. Let's take it right back to the start. How did the world of the Fantasy Rugby Yanks all begin?
Oh, I guess I need to answer this one.
Yeah, it was like you came up to me with the idea, so you already had it. So I'll let you.
And George knows the story, but for the rest of the world that hasn't heard it, I went to a wedding a couple summers ago, and the guy, a good friend of my wife's husband, used to work for ESPN over here. Doesn't work for him anymore, but somebody else at the wedding that's like a huge football fan was talking to this guy because he knew what he used to do. He knew he used to work for one of the shows at ESPN, was talking his ear off about how he and his friends do a fantasy hand egg podcast. The hand egg, as some of us call it. Because it's not a football. It's an egg, and then you use your hands. Let's be real.
It's an egg.
So, and my wife's friend's husband was very nice. His name's Ken. I won't say his last name for the sake of him. Ken was very nice, and like he's too nice to actually tell people like you're an idiot, but he also just kind of yesed them to death in a lot of ways. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, yeah, every jamoke that, like me, this guy, and everybody else wants to or does a fantasy football podcast. And I'm like, that sounds, I know the term he used. It's a niche market that's very saturated. That's what he used. I was like, it is. And I was like, wait a minute. I know a niche market that's not even close to saturated. So that's when I messaged Ben. I was like, I have an idea.
Because ultimately, I mean, as you said, George, it's we do fantasy rugby, but it's not the center of every show. It's that we have it as a segment, and we obviously are very focused on it.
Yeah.
But we wanted a rugby podcast. We wanted to talk rugby. We wanted to engage the rugby community in outside of just playing with our one local club and whatnot. So this is it. It's like we can talk. We talk about the matches and analyze them too, not just the from a fantasy perspective. So it kind of ticks all of our boxes.
Tickles your box.
Certainly.
But because you had approached me probably around the same time, like, is there such thing as fantasy rugby? And I said, I don't know. Let's go hunt. And we found Rugby Mag first, and then we found FRD second. So those are obviously the two variations we landed on for the most part. It took me a while to get the courage up to like just hit record, but I was like, all right, this is happening. So I did it. And do you remember we didn't quite have everything figured out audio wise? Obviously today clearly being a good example. Technology wise, so your mic wasn't actually on the first time you came on,
right? So you could hear it. You could hear my echo in Jared's mic, and that was what we had to go with.
I had to edit the hell out of that thing, and I still don't think it's that good. But you can hear Ben at least, and you have to kind of bear with the fact that you can hear me a little louder,
right?
That's the way. You've got to start somewhere, and you've got to sort of fail fast, learn, and just get better and better. And
those are the things that the technology, the feeling comfortable about doing it, and learning to just move past. If you, as we said earlier, you say something stupid. The first time you say something stupid, you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna. You think about that for the next 10 minutes, and you say another couple things that are stupid, and you think about, and it just goes on, and it just builds on snowballs.
It's quicksand.
We're used to it now. You kind of get. So I feel like, we have a good idea, we have a good thing, and we're getting better at it. Yeah. So that's the important thing.
Slowly but surely.
And we have we have a very good following. I liked our solid. The people who listen to us and give us great feedback. So,
we grew exponentially this year.
We have.
Yeah, I've heard you say in the last few episodes you've really grown. You're growing your following, and is it worldwide as well? Is it?
Yeah, it's. I mean, I could tell you the list of countries that we've hit, and whether this is somebody on the travels or not, whatever it is, I don't know. I don't know the data well enough, and it doesn't tell me anything in that detail, but. the list of countries we've hit is pretty wide, but obviously the main places that we find ourselves are the UK and here. Also a little bit of South Africa, a little bit of New Zealand, a little bit of Australia. Yeah. But like, there's somebody in like the Netherlands that listens to us. I swear to God. That's fine. I think there's somebody in Japan as well, which is weird.
Every so often we get a mass download, like somebody just goes and downloads.
Yeah, somebody must find us and just download all, because like all the old episodes have one download for like that week. I'm like, yeah, somebody went into the old catalog and boom, just crushed it. So yeah, it was all that.
And you kind of like, as we talked about, getting as we've improved, I'm like, don't listen to the early stuff.
Don't listen to me babble on. Good Lord. Save yourself the time. It's not worth it, I promise. And then we we had James come on, and that was so much fun. And then
it's odd, the episodes that get like with James when he came on, that makes sense. We're talking Six Nations usually, and we're previewing it from a rugby perspective more than a fantasy rugby perspective, and that kind of makes sense.
That goes across a lot of boundaries right there.
It's the ones that gain traction and have most downloads that are just like, why that one?
A lot of the draft ones are usually high. A couple weeks ago when the insurrection happened, that hit a big spike. I don't know what it was.
I mean, that went way beyond rugby, and it gave an insight to the rest of the world. A lot of the rugby world is maybe not. Well, I think we found your insights being on the ground and sort of letting the rest of the world know what was going on. That was really valuable for us to hear. And it's not often you get to hear authentic voices like yours telling the story of what's going on in the world. And it, like I was saying earlier on, it just transcends fantasy rugby. This is
that one definitely did. That one a little, because we spent a good 15-20 minutes on that too.
We did. Well, it was kind of important.
It was very important.
There was no getting around it. I mean, we were still watching it on TV. Like it's very rare when our network for some reason allows it to happen where I can be on a Zoom. At that point we weren't together like we are now. But I'm on a Zoom and I have the TV going, and I'm sure my wife's watching stuff out in the living room too. So it's like, usually it poops out, but for some reason that day we could still watch. So I'm like, it's on my
The
TV.
universe wanted you to have that. Yeah. The universe wanted you to have that day. I don't know why.
But it was like good. And we were actually very fortunate because we were supposed to record the day before. It was supposed to be on the Tuesday.
True. Either you or I were just like, I am so fucked.
Yeah.
It's not happening today.
So it wasn't happening that day, and it just happened to happen. We recorded that day, and
beats me. Luck would have it.
So that is the interesting thing, is because it seems so straightforward to us. Like, this is happening. Yeah, this is what's happening. We know who these people are and what they're doing and why they're doing it. It all makes sense to us. So it's for as ubiquitous as American culture is around the world, at least we're known for being what we are. Put it that way. It was just surprising to hear that, we could help give insight, because it's like, is this not what everybody sees?
This is not what people know about. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you just you can never fully trust what you're seeing on the news or anything like that.
That is a fact.
There's some sort of bias in there. So it was just really good to hear from you guys as to what was really going on.
Couple of schmucks.
Yeah, you can always count on us to hear to tell you what's really going on.
It's good to hear a bit of the backstory and where it all came from. The next question I've got, we could probably spend a whole hour on, I think, and I hope you guys are ready for this. We've been asked for you to select your best 15s pro eras. So since 95, who is your best?
This will be interesting.
15? So if we start from loose heads, work our way 1 to 15.
Right.
So I had to do a little bit of work on this one for a little bit, because I was not.
It's and it's going to be an interesting one for me too. Good Lord, and I'm trying to think of who the hell I put in there right off the top of my head.
Should be an easy one.
For you, go for it. You tell me who you want.
I thought about it for all 2 seconds on this one. Mako Vunipola.
Yeah, he's the first one that comes to my brain. I think.
How many props? So I chose this as yes, there's a difference in training from the start of the pro game to now, and the players are just so very different. So I went with, and a lot of my guys are more recent, because of that a little bit, but it's also the way the game is played now. I mean, Mako Vunipola is a guy who can lead your team in tackles and carries from the prop position.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and he can play 80 minutes at the international level.
He's done that.
So
I give it to him.
Those things, like, the Hair Bears back in the day they're not leading the team in carries.
No.
They're up there, might be up there in tackles, but mostly they're ruckers. That's what they were doing, ruck and scrum. Yeah. And that's just not valuable these days. So it's no offense to those guys, but Mako's my number one.
I was torn between a few guys, and really I think it has to come down to as long as I got the right side of the scrum here, the Beast. Yeah. Say as long as I got the right side. Say I'm pretty sure I got the right, and even if I don't, I don't care. He's good. He's playing loose head. So I'm going with the Beast. God, who was it that he held up like on a kickoff and just like by himself was holding the dude in the air as he was horizontal, not just up in the air. The dude was horizontal. I don't remember who it was. Yeah, but he was doing it by himself.
I can't remember who it was, but yeah.
Oh my! I was like, that dude is strong.
What was more important there, or more impressive there? What the Beast was doing, or that those shorts held up?
That's also true. He was hanging on for dear. Those shorts were hanging on for dear life.
No disrespect to the Beast.
Yeah. Considering the guy he was lifting was probably about 6'7" and probably about
I mean, he was a South African back row / lock. Right. So duh. It's probably like Matt Field or something like that.
As a Brit, like Beast, I've just got bad memories of him, and all I can think about is him destroying Phil Vickery in the 09 Lions, and then 10 years later destroying Dan Cole in the World Cup final. I think of pain, and he's.
That was a bit of a rough one for Vickery had a bad day that day.
Onto your hooker.
Yeah, hooker.
There's two names that come to mind, and I'm really torn between them. I really liked Stephen Moore for his leadership when he was playing for Australia, and I just remember so many pictures of that dude because he was shiny domed like our friend here. Lot of blood on that man, and he never ever wanted to come out. So I'll give him, and obviously he got them to a final, and I'm not sure a lot of people backed Australia to get to the final in 15.
And those gorgeous eyes he's got.
But then the other one is like this dynamic and again just all around toughness of Rafa Ibanez from France. Like I remember him way back, and I was just like, this dude's really fucking good. Like he was dynamic at the hooker position before a lot of hookers were that dynamic. You know what I mean? So it's certainly at that level. So I think I'm going to go with Ibanez.
And on my end, I'm taking that dynamism and I'm choosing a wing in Dane Coles.
He wants to be a wing.
It's just the stuff that he does out wide and scrummaging and throw. He does it all. So going with Colsey there.
I love me some Colsey.
There may be I do have a significant amount of All Blacks somehow on this. It's surprising.
Well, back-to-back World Cups.
Right. For my other proposition, it was something similar, except this guy is just a badger when you get down to the goal line, and you just need to get over that line. Tag Furlong is going to get you over that line.
A good one.
And he's another guy who's going to play 80 minutes at the international level and be all over the pitch. And
he's supposedly on his way back for this coming month here.
Good.
That'll be interesting.
Game misses him.
I remember when he broke on the scene, just the damage he would do in the loose was unreal.
Yeah, for a tight head.
No one had ever seen anything like him.
Yeah, for a tight head especially.
Yeah.
I have to go old school with tight head, and he is a cult hero for a lot of people. And I don't like the team he used to play for, but the guy will still never be forgotten, and that's Martin Kester Giovanni.
Oh,
Yes, that's a good one.
If I ever have one Italian that stays in my team forever, no disrespect to Parise,
Yeah.
it's Martin Kester Giovanni. That dude just kept going, and he could scrum with the best of them. I was like, good luck. That is the one dude I do not want to scrum against. Like, forget it. As a loose head, no way. I don't want any part of that. Get out of here.
What a guy to have on your team, on and off the field. Like,
oh, I'm sure he was a party too, no doubt.
There are like pictures of him at Zlatan stag do in Vegas, like Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
That's awesome. Oh, him at a Zlatan.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
At a bachelor party. Oh, for him. Good Lord, I can only imagine.
And that was back right, there was the social medias, but not quite at the way they are
Not
now.
quite at that level, yeah.
We're kind of, it's fortunate/unfortunate that we got enough, but we got a taste, but not enough.
Oh, goodness gracious. You aren't kidding.
All right. Into the engine room.
To the engine room. So this puts me up under pressure because I was a lock by trade for many years. Man, it's there's so many, even all the way back. It's so hard.
Yeah,
it's hard to just pick a lock out.
This is the tough.
I gotta give Jono the nod though. I gotta give him. You win a World Cup, and the only team that's really come close to it, the two teams that have come close to it haven't really come close to it in many terms. They got to the final and then got humped. So when you win a World Cup, and obviously they won it in some pretty fancy fashion, I got to give Martin Johnson at least one of those spots in the bench from there.
Like captain 2 Lions tours, captain England to the World Cup. The guy was just he's the kind of man that you want in your team, and everyone, you just look to him.
Absolute ledge.
And so he was before my time rugby wise. So he was just like I knew him as the England coach. That was my introduction to him. So
2011.
Right. So I didn't pick him. No disrespect. It was just I'm a newbie to the international rugby scene. As difficult as it was to figure that out in America, actually to watch it. So
we never bootlegged videos over here.
Right. I'm sticking with that same country, and to a guy who will just sometimes the other team has the ball and he just decides they shouldn't have it anymore, and now he has it, and that's Mario.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're going for. It was too much of an easy one.
It's like no, you've had enough time with that at mine now.
Oh my God, that man's huge.
And I mean, he burst onto the scene when he won like 20 some straight matches.
Yeah,
club
like
and
that.
Professional.
That's true.
And he's just getting better, and he's still young, and he has so much more to go.
It's amazing.
It's not fair.
No.
So this is a bit of there's promise of stuff to come from him that's just otherworldly. So that was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no. And I also recently, actually this morning, I watched the documentary from Obano, and he's in.
Yeah,
and that was really good.
I need to get on that.
Yeah, that was very good. I still have to watch the Dan Leo one, but yeah, that was an excellent one. So Morrow, if I didn't like Morrow enough, I like him a lot more after that one. So
so my other lock.
Yeah, what do you got?
Is a similar mold of that respect of this is my ball now.
Yeah.
And again, going back down to the Southern Hemisphere for a Kiwi, Sam Whitelock.
Yeah,
he's not bad.
Because I mean,
he's not bad at all.
with the Toji and Whitelock, it's like where do you attack? Where do you keep the ball?
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they'll take it and they'll win lineouts at the same time. That's true. The man was, and I have a true appreciation for people that are good at understanding the lineout and how to craft it and how to also execute it. So my other second row has to go to somebody I already mentioned before, maybe by accident, maybe I was on it, but Victor Matfield from South Africa.
Excellent choice.
Just the guy. If he was in the game and he was running the lineout, you weren't going to steal the ball because he either knew where to send it or he would take it himself. Like it was very rare that you were going to take the ball away from South Africa if he was in the lineup, unless the hooker was completely shit, which is also a possibility. But yeah, quality hooker with him, forget it.
I've never really seen a line-out technician at the level of Matt Fields. Just on a whole different level. And again, I remember lots of painful afternoons as an England rugby fan down at the pub, just watching in awe as our line-out was destructed by Matt Field and Bota. I mean, it was just...
So that was around
then. 07 World Cup.
Yeah, 07. Yep.
So that was around the time when I was just getting into watching international rugby.
Yeah.
And all I knew of, I didn't get his name at first because I take, learning names takes me a little bit. All I knew is him as that asshole. Oh, it's that asshole.
Yeah. I mean, if you're developing a name like that, you might be doing something right.
So there's one guy that I wasn't sure whether you had mentioned or not, and he might be before your time. He was sort of late 90s, early 2000s, World Cup winner of Australia in 99, and a lead captain of the team, John Eales.
Yeah, Eales. I was like, wait, I know who this is. Yeah, no, it wasn't quite before I started dawdling into this at like 2002. So he was probably just at the tail end of his best, and I was only starting. So
if he was playing now, he would have been a fantasy rugby dream, because not only was he an absolute beast in the line-out, not far off Matt Field level, but he was also a really good goal kicker. Like he kicked over.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I didn't even think of that.
Was that a view of a lock kicking a?
It was good chance.
But he was like a regular kicker as well. So he kicked like almost 60 penalties and conversions at test level. It's not just at club level. The guy was actually a legit.
That's ridiculous. That's fun. Yeah, that'll not happen in a long time. I can guarantee you.
It's like I played it's high school, so take it for what it's worth. But played a team where their left this is in American football. Their left tackle was their kicker. So it was this, and he was a big boy too. This was this guy who was gonna. I think he played D1 football somewhere, but he was like 300 pounds and like not like sloppy 300 pounds, and you were just like, all right,
a rigged 300 pounds, right, as we might say. Right. Back row.
So
I'm not sure if my 6 is accurate, but I'm going to go with your
assessment.
The up front where you had your beast maybe.
Oh, so yeah, whatever. Back row's a back row. Who cares?
So my 6, and if you notice, I don't have the guys you run through the brick wall for until now. Until I got to the back row.
Okay.
So my first up is my number 6 is Sam Warburton.
Oh yeah, I'd put he'd make most back rows. That guy,
because I mean, hell of a player. So he's going to do damage around the field, but he's also the guy who's going to keep that that pack together and keep them on in focus and on task.
Absolutely.
Another great leader as well. Right.
Yeah. Also that which you cannot put down by any means whatsoever. You have to have a guy like him, Jono, somebody in there that's going to lead the charge and make sure the troops are going all the right direction.
Exactly. That's why I was like, I'll sacrifice that, because there's, as you said, there's so many locks that you can just throw in there as a, your leadership position. And I'm going to pull out from that and use my, have my locks be fetchers a little bit, and my flankers can be more cleanup.
Yeah, that's fair enough. 6. I think I got to stay in the Southern Hemisphere, and he might not. He played all over the back row, so really it doesn't matter.
You're going with my.
But the guy, he was just on one of the good podcasts out there. Australian guy. David Pocock.
Yep.
That dude, and he's another guy that just like. He played as long as he did, and he was as good as long as he was. Like he's like Hooper in many ways, where he was capped early, and people remember Pocock over many generations of rugby just because he was so good for so long. And he still had a truncated career in many ways. So that just speaks to how good he was, how early it was when he was good. I was like, he must have been 17 when he broke into his first rugby team easily. So give him all the credit in the world, and if you need a fetcher, he's not a bad option.
No. He was right up there on mine too. It was like 6B. Warburton is 6A.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, back 2015 when he was in his peak, he was just untouchable, just
unbelievable.
A significant reason why the Australian team punched above their weight and reached the final that year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
That back row.
Do we even have to talk about 7, or can we just
probably not?
Okay.
No, double World Cup winning captain. I don't think there's a reason to say otherwise.
3-time player of the year.
Listen, he figured out. People say he cheated. Listen, he figued out how to cheat better than anybody else. That's all I know.
So Richie McCaw.
Yeah, Richie McCaw has to be. Man, it's just, and you know what? It's funny for him to be so talked about forever. He's not in the limelight at all anywhere, and you still say his name, and people just go, and that just tells you everything you know about the guy. Plain and simple.
On to the
8s.
Yeah.
All right, this guy is a personal hero of mine, so I'm gonna do it, and I don't care. Ireland's 8-man for a little while, Jamie Heaslip.
Yes, he was my pick until I had my actual pick.
And it's just too bad his career got cut down so short. But man, that guy was fun to watch. When he got in the loose, I was like, "This is going to be fun." I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be fun. So plain and simple.
For my guy, again, talking about brick wall guys, there's guys you want to run through a brick wall. This guy will throw you through a brick wall if you refuse to run through it. And he was the first $1 million player, which says a lot about his quality of play and his value to the game. And plus, you got to have him. I mean, how can you say no to Sebastian Chabal?
Yeah. You
what?
do it. If he says it, you do it without question, because you don't want to die.
Or he will do it for you with you. I said to pick up that ball.
Scoop you up with his brains.
Right.
You would scoop the ball up with your brains or something, you know?
Yeah.
Who was it whose ribs he broke on a tackle?
Ali Williams. He broke Ali Williams.
Yeah, that sounds right. Oh, poor Ali Williams.
Yeah, this is a guy you don't want to get on the wrong side of, so that's why I'm picking him on my team.
Fair enough.
If you've got some time, you need to go on YouTube and Google Chabal press conference from 2007, because there's like this English journalist says, "Can we speak English?" Chabal's like, "No, we speak French." And that was the end of the interview. We're done.
That's great.
That'd be a no.
My favorite is the Chabal Bear.
Yeah, he is.
So I want one, and I'm mad that I can't get one.
Yeah.
Like, it's a tease, Puma. You teased us.
Yes, you did. 9. There's a lot of guys, and I also want to feel like I also want to feel like I represent a lot of the world as well. So and he almost got a position that I really wanted him to get recently, but he was a big reason for the Pumas' resurgence, or coming out really, in obviously not this past World Cup, but many World Cups beforehand, where they, especially in 11, and that's Augustine Pichot.
Yeah,
that dude. Yeah, he made a lot of people's lives miserable in 11. I can tell you that much right now. Nobody saw that coming, and he was a big part of it. So I'll give Pichot the nod at 9 for sure.
Same with 07, actually. I mean, no one was really expecting Argentina to do what they did.
Especially 07. 07 was a huge. Yeah. 07 was a bizarre tournament in itself. Like, you had obviously the French beating the Kiwis. You had Argentina coming out of nowhere. I was just like, are we in the right world here? Is this it? Are we sure we're not at the FIFA World Cup? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
My goodness.
So a lot of this was, again, before my time, so I can't really comment on too much of it. So I would say George Gregan, because I want to have an Australian, because I don't otherwse. But because I don't really, good too. And he's all right.
Invented the Gregan.
Yeah.
As we all know it now.
Yep.
But it's hard to not go with Aaron Smith, just because of all the stuff he does.
Oh, I can understand that.
He's the best he's been consistent since I've started watching as the best. And for that long a period of time, I can't say no to that. So another Kiwi for me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, someone who I would have mentioned, but again, was probably before your time, right at the very start of the pro era, was Joost van der Westhuizen. Absolutely legend. And he played 3 World Cups, and it was just a nightmare.
Yeah, he's part of the 95 team, wasn't he?
95, yeah. So he won it in 95,
Yeah.
99, 03. And he was just another one of those players who, if you saw him on the team sheet against England, and I'm going back on memories of being in the pub watching these games, and it was always a night afternoon. If Eust was on the field,
it's like, oh, here we go. It's about to be a rough day.
Yeah. Right. I'm interested to see what you've gone with here.
10's going to be either unanimous or a split, and I don't think it's going to be. It's going to be one of two guys. It's going to be one of two guys. I don't think it's. I have and this will be not a good memory for George. I have a very vivid memory of this guy just absolutely destroying the Lions.
So do I.
Almost single-handedly, and making his name known to the world, because he was replacing Carlos Spencer, who was a good player in his own right. And then he made himself his own man and got himself 2 World Cups on top of that. And he's still playing today in some way capacity. Stan Carter.
Yeah. One of the greatest individual performances I've ever seen on a rugby field.
I was a young kid, had not watched much rugby in my life. And I would just remember watching it and going, this Carter guy's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, he's my 10 also.
There's no disrespect to Johnny Wilkinson,
right.
And the guy was a legend in his own right. And to have the clangers to hit that drop goal that he hit is you can't speak enough to it. But I don't know. Yeah, it's really hard to say no to Dan Carter.
Right.
That's all it is. Not disrespecting either one. 11.
So I went with this guy. Was one of my inspirations for being interested in rugby, because I'm coming again from a football background where they're looking for the biggest. It doesn't matter. They kind of want fastest, but they want someone who's going to win that physical battle. Yeah. And rugby had been explained to me as really a game for everyone. There's a position for everyone, as long as
there is.
If you can do the thing, you can still make the tackles, whatever size you are. You can break the tackles, especially. And this guy was okay at doing that. And just a joy to watch. And even now bringing him up, he was just does my heart really well. Shane Williams.
I knew it. The Wizard. That dude, that
would just disappear.
That YouTube video of him just sticking his hand out and the cleat landing in it is epic. I mean, I think he deserves to be on the team just for that. Man,
just a miracle worker.
I love Shane Williams, and I'm gonna go with somebody else that has a fond World Cup memory, and he's gonna Brian Habana is still seeing this guy in his sleep, and I got a chance to actually meet him and talk and get a picture with him, and he is, without a doubt, going to go down in folklore forever in the United States rugby history, and that's Taku Nkwanya. My goodness. And he just, so from Clever to McDonald, and I don't remember who else it was, and then Taku took it the rest of the way, and Habana is still seeing him like, bye. He actually got voted as one of the better tries in Champions Cup history too.
Nice. He scored, Biarritz. He scored an absolute.
That's the one.
He's a fantastic player.
So. Yeah, and that was kind of his coming out. Like, this dude's really fast, and
him gassing Habana was like one of the ultimate jaw drop moments in Rugby World Cup history. It's just like, what just happened?
Who's this guy that just burned Brian Habana? Nobody knew who he was, but he just made his And I remember Wiles talking about it like sometime in the last few months. Just like, this dude was very quiet but very raw, and they knew if they got him the ball, it was going to be bad news for a lot of people. Sure enough, that dude, I like that guy. What are we gonna do for 12?
Yeah, let's go into the centers.
I struggled with it until it popped in there, and then I couldn't think of anybody else, and I wouldn't think of anybody else but Sonny Bill Williams. Because of all the things he can do from that position.
I like Sonny Bill. Love me a Sonny Bill.
And and he does everything you need from him. He can crash hard. He can take you around the edge. He can offload a little bit, just a little bit.
Just a bit.
And that's
that much.
and that, to me, it's what more can you want from a 12?
Yeah.
12 is used so unthinkingly by so many teams. Obviously not the Kiwis. So
yeah, that's true. That is
Sunnyvale
true.
at 12 to me. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the same era as Marnono as well, who also played a lot of 12, and he would have been up there for me as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love Nanu. The interview he did with GBR or whatever it was, maybe it was House of Rugby before that, but just listening to him made me love him more.
I almost went with the two of them as my 12, 13. I'm like,
that's not fun.
Too many Kiwis. So.
That's not a fun. It's not a 12, 13.
Next one comes off the bet and shit.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Like used to guys used to have to play against Nanu for about 60, 70 odd minutes, and then Sunnyvale comes on, and like that's not fair. Like, come on, man, cut him some slack. Oh man, yeah, that was never good news at all. I'm going to rewind a little bit more because we need this. My team needs a Welshman. And the guy was pretty good. Played a little bit around the midfield somewhere, a lot. Kicked the points pretty well. Henson, guy was pretty good. And another one that was I was just getting into the whole thing, and I don't remember who the hell he was playing for. I just remember seeing him and being like, "That's Gavin Henson. Okay, he's pretty good. I like this guy." But his name just kind of blew my mind when I first started. So pretty good stuff from the Welshman, and this team needs a Welshman. So I will definitely give him a nod for sure.
Good shout. Okay, and then 13.
13.
I went back to Northern Hemisphere, and back to a guy who you would run through a brick wall for because.
Are we gonna have the same 13?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But mine's Brian O'Driscoll.
The guy that does the self pass. Yeah. That self pass highlight. I was just like, no, that he did do that. Wow. I mean, he didn't score a try off it, but he got some good meters. But just the fact that he executed it as well as he did, I was just like, holy shit. And obviously the old adage of
I think the defense was like, holy shit too.
Yeah, the defense probably was a little bit too. And then the old adage of tomato and whether or not to put it in a fruit salad and
that's right. Knowledge is to know that tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is
not to put it in a fruit salad.
Yep.
Yeah, and and on top of all that, the character that he was, knew how to perform on the world stage, knew how to perform on the Champions Cup stage for Leinster more often than not. Yeah, that dude's got a few trophies in his cabinet.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's like my all-time favorite fantasy rugby player as well. Like for many years, the only fantasy rugby game that existed was the ESPN Six Nations.
Yes.
And he was just so he'd be the first name on my team list.
Got to go in. That dude was just another level, and he was a talisman on top of all that, and he captained Ireland a bunch. So got to be the O'Driscoll dude. I like that guy.
So we're almost there. 14.
I don't have too many of this country in my team, but to not put him in is almost feels like blasphemy and sacrilegious.
So are we gonna have the same guy then?
Probably.
Who do you got?
John Olomo.
See, I don't have him.
I do.
There's
a lot of, and it's just, and there's never a disrespect to Jonah if you don't put him in your team, but there's a lot about Jonah that speaks beyond rugby. And, back to the Nanu, talking about Nano needed to bring him to the airport. And Nano talked about, whose car? What do I do with the car? Keep it for the week. And started picking him up to go to her. Obviously, I'm a Hurricanes fan too. Started picking him up to go to Hurricanes practice. And I'm like, not only was he a great player, he was a great guy.
Yeah, he was. In every interview. And I remember in 2015, he was over in England for the World Cup not long before he died. And he was doing interviews. The guy was so grounded. I mean, if you consider he was really the first global rugby superstar. He was, if you're looking at rugby and if you're looking for a Michael Jordan, Roger Federer, Leo Messi type character, Lomu was that guy. And there's never really been anyone on that level so far above anyone else since. But he was always so grounded, and he was always, a man of the people, and he never let the adulation and ego get to him. He just loved rugby.
he was so humble, and and you talk about athletes that are just ahead of their game and beyond their game, and he was ahead of the game by a long shot when he was around. Jordan and Gretzky are two names over here that definitely ring that. Messi is obviously another one that just pops when you think of it. Messi can control a game and still find a way to just dazzle you. But yeah, just Jonah was another level beyond rugby. So I had to stick him in the team.
Yeah, and so he was before me, and I know that's not an excuse, but I just wanted to keep with guys that I knew and that impressed me. So I went with the guy you mentioned, Jared, and because of also his transformation, in my opinion, was a guy who, when I first started watching him, I was like, this guy's soft. Like he's a good runner, not physical at all. Doesn't want to take tackles. Will weenie out on high balls sometimes if there's pressure coming. Does a lot of flopping, but towards the end of his career, was a hard man, and just a great all around player. And that's Havana.
I won't besmirch anybody that puts that guy in the team by any means whatsoever. He's kind of good.
Yeah, and I think he might be my South African. So kind of wanted to give them some love.
He was good. Still, did he break the Test Rugby try record? Or
third place playoff. I think he got one.
Oh, that makes sense. That's right. I completely forgot about the whole thing.
I don't know if he equaled it or beat it, but he definitely was on that top list.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's another level right there. Guy making the tackles and making the plays all at the back.
Right.
There's one country I haven't represented yet, and I think I need to. And he's good to this day. And I love his personality on top of that. And he's had some pretty traumatic experiences of his own and we talk about, DC's in the news right now for the trauma he's experienced and stuff like that. And this guy's had some trauma he's dealt with it pretty well, on top of the fact
you're not going with Falau, are you?
No, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy so hard. But yeah, it's Stuart Hogg.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like Hoggy.
That man.
I've always loved Hoggy.
Yeah. It's just too bad he got hurt in the last Lions tour, because I can imagine what the Lions team would have been with him in it. Although Liam Williams did do a good job, but he's just a different player.
Yeah. My 15 is a guy who actually has an argument to be made at 10 on this list, but he's not going in over DC.
Okay. Yep.
Not going in over Wilkinson.
Fair enough.
But he belongs on the team, and because he burst onto the scene at 15 because of Dan Carter. They had to put him somewhere, and then this guy can play fucking anywhere, so he's going to play 15 for me, Bowden Barrett.
Okay, quite good, and he's made a name for himself at 15 recently, so not bad. I like it. I like him. I hope he comes back to New Zealand at some point. So
he'll be back.
We're going to miss him in Super Rugby when we're doing our FRD drafts in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a big name missing. Good picks, lads. That's a solid 15.
Thank you.
Yeah, that I think we covered quite a few bases with it too. So that's a good thing. It wasn't the same the whole time, but it was also the same sometimes where it was kind of obvious.
And I'm happy that I got to give a nod to some of the players who got me into the game in the first place. Who I was like, I can connect with them, and now I'm connecting with other players and more. I have a bigger understanding, but the guys like. The opposite ends of the spectrum with Shane and Cheval, the brawn and the
wit,
the twinkle toes. Those are what really got me into there's such versatility in this game, and gotta love it.
Totally, I love it.
Nice. So from what was probably quite a long question to what will be a rapid fire question, I'm very interested to hear what you guys think of this. This is describe each tier 1 nation in one word. So what we're going to do, we're including Fiji in the tier 1 list of nations. I was looking at Wikipedia just to definitely get the list of tier 1 nations.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Italy still qualified despite the fact they're ranked 14 in the world. So there you go. So we're going to go in reverse order of world rankings. Okay. You guys ready?
Okay, go for it.
Do it. Italy.
Potential.
Present. They're there.
There. Fiji.
Fun.
Style.
Just fun. You watch a Fiji game, you're in for some fun.
Yeah.
Japan.
Inspiring.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the word I want to use here. Newbie's too easy. Yeah, fresh. There we go. That's a good one.
That's good.
That's a good one.
Okay, Wales.
Hopeful?
Inconsistent.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're like they're number one, and now what they're 13
yeah, that's
or something like that. Like
that's why I put hopeful, because they have a chance, and then you hope they do better, and sometimes they let you down.
Yeah.
Rebuilding. All right.
Constantly.
Quiet.
Argentina.
Tough.
I go with tough too.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of it. They're tough, and they're tough to play, and they're mentally tough, obviously, as we saw.
Yes, we saw, for sure.
I'll go with that.
All right. Scotland.
Disappointing.
Boring.
Yeah. Wrong.
I can't.
Lots of great players. Wrong coach.
Yeah.
Lots of unbalanced as well. You've got amazing talents like Finn Russell and Stuart Hogg, and yet.
How is that possible? That we're talking, I can call a team with Hamish Watson, with Finn Russell, with Stuart Hogg,
and Kinghorn and all those
Harris and all these guys,
and even like McNally as their hooker, awesome runner, and just
but they're fucking boring.
Right. But
Australia.
Exciting. I'm looking forward to I like the new blood they're doing. So
optimistic.
Yeah.
Optimistic. Good one. I like that.
Yep.
Ireland.
Determined. Because I don't think they're almost boring, but they win. So that turns into determination. Because it's like they'll just grind you the fuck down.
Yeah. Stubborn.
Stubborn. That's a good one.
Stubborn. Just a lot of the same, despite all the talent they have. But but it gets done. So that's the thing.
Right. That's the thing. Except in World Cup years where it all comes up.
Yeah, beats the shit out of me. No idea.
All right, France.
Oh, Flair. Come on. Like, Flair. Just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Flair.
My mind is one word repeated 3 times. Play, play, play.
Jouer.
Yes, that's it.
New Zealand.
Unbeatable, mostly.
Assassins.
Yeah, maybe that's a good one. That's a good one.
They're just cold. They will, but I mean, they're temperamental with it, but they will just, maybe might take a half of them to figure out how to get you, but they will fucking get you.
Mm-hmm.
They will get you. Yeah. All right, England.
Uptight.
Trying to think here. I've used a couple of words that I want to use with this too, which is sad. Better, and that can be thrown in so many ways.
Yeah,
they are
better than them.
Yeah, there's they could do better. They're better than a lot of people. Like, it just seems like it fits in a lot of categories that you would describe England in right now.
It seems like they make decisions because that's the decision that has been made in the past. That's why they went with uptight. Like George Ford's their fly half. Why is he the fly half? Well, because he's the fly half. Yeah, but and Ben Youngs can't throw a fucking pass. Why is he the 9? Because he's the 9.
He's the 9. I don't know.
So,
I don't have that answer now.
And just their
I used to have nightmares about Ben Youngs' passing in the World Cup final.
It
wakes me up at night in a cold sweat.
Yeah, and he's still on the fucking team, even with Ben.
Hopefully not for much longer. Very happy to see him handling there now.
Hoops for Eddie Jones, because he's and leaves a club that he's grown up with.
Yeah,
kind of, and pushed him to this stage. And Eddie's like, okay, I want to see you do it with another club. And he's like, okay, and I want you to be the leader instead of Wigglesworth, and then leaning on Wigglesworth. And he goes and he does it, and he doesn't select him. And I'm like, and he's killing youngs on the. It's like,
Yeah, what more can you do?
Yeah, not a whole lot for the
uptight.
kid. No, not much for the kid to do, unfortunately, at this point. Yeah, I think he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't at this point. Poor guy.
All right. And then last but definitely not least, South Africa.
Physical. Good Lord Almighty.
Oh my.
If they can't beat you with any sort of speed, which they have, clearly, Kolbe, and even like Mac Mapimpi, but like they'll just beat you to death. My goodness.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna go with what I was talking about earlier with Matt Field, assholes. And I say that with all the respect in the world. It's not
endearing.
It's not a bad thing.
It's endearing.
They will asshole you, and then they give it to Kolbe to finish.
Good Lord.
It's like
it's so built into their culture as well. I remember at school playing a touring team from Maritzburg College, which actually had Butch James was from that school. Quite a well-known school in South Africa. And I remember them coming over to a man, every single person, their opposite man was at least a foot taller. They were huge. And it was just like, oh my God, we've been playing with boys. Now these are the men. It's
You're
just
going to die.
the biggest 16-year-olds you've ever seen in your life. And we were like, okay, this is real rugby.
What's in the water down there?
Right.
It's unbelievable. But it was so nice to have beers with them afterwards as well. Such
that's
gentlemen.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're like they because they're so nice generally off the pitch after the match. It's just like, you were such a dick on the pitch, and now you're gonna give me a beer. Like, oh, it's gonna be like that now. Oh, okay, give me that beer and we'll be friends. But damn it, why are you such an asshole on the pitch?
Shit. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
I know it.
Good one. Cool. We got a few more questions. So one I'm quite interested actually, given the rugby in the US. Interested to know what got you guys both personally into rugby, and did you or do you still play?
Well, I coach
Age before beauty.
Yeah, more than play. Although I'll play in some old boys and Saranac and some social tournaments and stuff like that. What got me into rugby was I got out of college and was looking for something to do, and it just so I ran into a friend of a friend who plays rugby, and we got to drinking. And he basically said, with your size and drinking ability, you'd make an excellent rugby player. And it turned out to be, pretty, he wasn't wrong. But yeah, what got me into it though, was that my first practice, it was on my 23rd birthday, was my first ever rugby practice. And I played all sorts of sports. So I kind of had that versatility. When I was in high school, I played not just football, but I did a little bit of basketball. I'm short, so I'm not very good at that. I played ice hockey. I played baseball a little bit, did some track. So I'm a fairly well-rounded athlete.
Apt term.
And rugby really got the combination of all of my athletic traits and game awareness. So like I always enjoyed the creativity of the basketball and hockey. And you have to work with your teammates and make sight adjustments like that. With each other on the fly, and rugby is very much that. And so a lot of the things I was like, oh, this is like hockey and football mixed, and like I kind of used elements of that to really bring everything together for rugby for me, and it clicked pretty instantly. Yeah. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I was.
And then we went to the bar after practice.
Yeah, that was your best part.
And I was like, wait, what the fuck? This is great.
I was younger than Ben was. I was 16 when I got my hands on a rugby ball for the first time. I had some teammates from my high school football team, American football, obviously, that had talked about playing rugby, and I was scratching my head. I was all but done with baseball at that point. Baseball is a spring sport here. Rugby was also a spring sport. And I was like, that sounds interesting to me right now. Baseball, I was just beyond. I was like, I wasn't going anywhere with it, and I didn't feel like I had any more left to play with it. And I like the thought of more physicality again. I was like, yeah, this could be fun. So I went, and Ben will appreciate this too. If you're an American football lineman, you do not touch the ball, like ever.
We have one job.
Yeah, right. You block for it. Right. That's the best. Yeah. they gave me the ball and they're like, pass it. And I'm like, and then they passed it. I'm like, wait, so am I supposed to handle this thing too? They're like, yeah. I was like, ooh, this is way more fun. As a 16-year-old kid that like just wants to have some fun and doesn't want to just be stuck in the mud. Granted, there was some fun about being stuck in the mud and playing high school football, but I got my hands on that as a sophomore. I scored my first try that year, and you could not have. My mother was like, "Is this really what you want to do?" Because you had to sign a permission slip saying, like, I have insurance and I won't sue the club because it was a youth club. It wasn't a high school team. It was just a club's youth team, basically. So my mom had to sign the permission slip. And I was like, I'm either doing nothing or I'm doing this in the spring. Yeah. She's like, fuck, fine, signs it, sends me off. And, I haven't really done a whole lot of letting it down since I had a year off for injury, and I had a year off for personal reasons. And other than that, I've pretty much played every year. And I'm still assuming that this bullshit that we're in the middle of right now goes away sometime in the next 6 months. I do plan on stepping on the pitch again. So that might.
What's your team?
Boston Rugby.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah, Boston Rugby.
Yeah, that's how we met. Actually, both of our first practice was with Boston. It was our first practice with Boston. We both moved
together.
And it was like, all right, new people over here. Whatever. Oh, hey, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
All right, cool. We've been somehow inseparable ever since. It was like just like that.
It was. You know what it was? It was that TFRY tournament.
That was that too.
It was that TFRY tournament.
Tournaments are huge. And that really is what. So, the practice and really getting the game helped me to be like, yeah, I'll do this. And then the feeling after the morning after my first match, not just the first match and the drink up and all that, but when the morning after, and I hadn't had that feeling since I'd stopped playing football, which is I'm tired and I'm sore, but man, was that fun and it was worth it. And I want to do it again next week.
Yeah. Not tomorrow, next week.
and then the first tournament, you go down and we went to a tournament called Rites of Spring. And it was in Baltimore, and it was at the time. At least it felt massive to me. And
then you went to Saranac.
Well, but that tournament also shrank over the years. But it was it always a special place in my heart where like we just did it up, and we playing hungover on a Sunday for hardware. It's you learn a lot about yourself.
Yes, you did,
and your teammates.
But that tournament, we got house number one. So when you get skunked in a tournament, you're not playing on Sunday. So what do? You go out.
Yeah,
absolutely. 100%.
So we got skunked. So we're like, all right, we're drinking. Yeah, and that was a good night.
I think I ended up with so we got hotel rooms. Somebody found a hotel that had hot tubs in each room. And we're like, oh, that'd be good for recovery.
Whirlpool and spa.
And no, we were like 3 a.m. playing cards, like 5 of us in a whirlpool.
Recovery my ass.
We were smoking and drinking.
Oh God,
carrying on, and that's.
Oh man,
those kinds of experiences unify teams and players.
Right. Did we play golf the next summer together too? That helped.
Yeah.
We had a couple golf outings,
right?
Which also helped. But yeah, that TFRY tournament where we got absolutely housed on the field, but then we got housed in the bar afterwards. That helped.
That'll do.
That helped. So that's where we started, and that's where this started.
That's the best thing about rugby. Just in the bar with your teammates afterwards.
Yeah.
With the opponents, can't beat it.
Yeah, it's a good day. It's a good day.
Nice. So have you watched any live games outside the US? Have you traveled abroad to watch?
I have.
And how was the experience for you guys?
So I've done two things. I've both watched and played overseas.
Right.
The watching I did, my beautiful wife, when I first was dating her, she was doing a semester abroad. She was going to go student teach in Australia for a semester. And I was like, well, this is fucking awesome. This is a good reason to go to Australia. And I have free, I don't have to get a hotel or anything like that. I just have to get plane tickets to Melbourne. That was the year the Commonwealth Games were in Melbourne. And it was actually over my birthday. So I spent my birthday, my 25th birthday in Australia, 26th birthday, in Australia, watching the Commonwealth Games sevens. All day.
Nice.
And that was just because it's sevens, you have people from everywhere, and it's Commonwealth Games,
Yeah,
so people have flown. Like we're walking out, and the England fans had just beaten Australia at the end of the day.
Is that when Matt Tate was just running wild?
I think so. That name sounds familiar. I still have the program back home. But yeah, it was, and I think it was Ugandan rugby was there, and like they scored a try, and the crowd went nuts because it was like they were getting their ass beat, and I think they ended up winning that game. They scored 2 tries, but the first try they scored was their first of the day, and the whole crowd erupted for them. Everyone was behind them, and it was like, it's such a great atmosphere.
I'm impressed you can remember, because we go to the Twickenham Sevens every year. I've never remembered a single bit of rugby that's ever happened on those days. It's just been an absolute blur there, and just.
Well, it was my first time. I was still with the girl. I was still, we were been dating under a year, so it was a lot of. I remember the skirt she was wearing. I remember a lot of things from that day.
Identified that day, I suppose, a little bit better than others, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough. I had a loved one that passed away and left me some money, and I knew they would have wanted me to do an experience and not just like spend it on something silly like. God knows we all had student loans and debt and whatever, but like that'll always be there. So I wanted to have an experience. So
for Georgia's sake, student loans.
Don't need to talk about that.
An American construct. Okay, so back to our expanding people's worlds. It's about what it's like to be a fucking American.
I forgot about that whole thing.
You go to college, you got to pay tuition.
A lot of
tuition's
it.
Get that over here. Student loans is.
Oh, you do? Okay. All right. I wasn't sure if student loans were a thing over there.
They're not fun.
But uni was a little
so anyway, in either case.
Anyway.
So I was like, you know what? He would want me to have an experience. So I bought a package to go to England in 2015. And I do not regret it a single second. What an experience that was. And having not gone to a match outside, anywhere before, let alone to a World Cup match, man, the first match was when we got tonked by South Africa at the London Stadium. And actually, there is Twitter evidence that I was there.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Because the crowd, when I was on international TV for 5 seconds.
So you had his face painted.
Yeah, I had my face painted of the Stars and Stripes. My wife was standing next to me. And they're when they're panning for people with a shitty country like the U.S. in terms of rugby, they're looking for people that are actually either dressed as American fans or maybe even singing the anthem. And she and I were singing the anthem, so. So we were there, but the South African fans were so much fun. They were just I got there and I had a beer in hand, and they were just like, "Oh, hey, come down here and talk with us." And like they were all down a little close to the front row. We had decent seats, but they were all by the front row, and they wanted me to just talk to them. And one of them was filming me. I was like, "Wow, these are really nice people." They just wanted to know what I was doing, and they were awesome. So that was a lot of fun.
I forgot though. I've actually been to Twickenham too. Now that you mentioned it, but it was a charity rugby sevens thing, and I almost missed my flight back home because of it.
Attaboy. You shouldn't do that. And then we went to Gloucester and watched the U.S. play Japan. Taku scored. Wiles scored. AJ was playing 10.
Good times.
Fucking Stanfill was on the field.
Fuck that guy.
And you know who else was on the field?
Of course, Quill was on the fucking
that friggin' idiot.
So Quill, we've had the luxury. We've actually, how many internationals have you? I know this wasn't a question that I'm sorry, George. I'm stepping on your toes here. How many internationals have you played with?
3.
Because it was Quilly,
Tony, and Liam.
Okay.
Those are the ones that come to my mind.
Right. I was fortunate enough to play with the Maccabees. I played with Zach Test.
Oh, Test.
Aside from that.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Lamborn.
Sorry?
Which Tony?
No,
Purpura. Prop.
He's a big Lucette prop.
He's had a couple cups of coffee with the Eagles.
Yeah. He was currently a qualifying team a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. He was on he was a part of that win when they qualified for the World Cup.
Yeah, he was on that team and scored. Previous tournament scored a try against Canada. If I remember right. Yeah, no, actually I got to watch Tony's second or third cap when we were in college. Tony was still young. Eddie, God, what the hell was his name? Fucking Eddie O'Sullivan. I say, what the hell was his name?
Yeah.
Eddie O'Sullivan was the coach. He was quite a dick, from what I understand.
We've had a lot of that in American rugby.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he really liked. Yeah, fucking Tolkien. Eddie O'Sullivan really liked Tony. Unfortunately, he didn't finish much more than that, so Tony didn't have much. The other person that really liked Tony was John Mitchell. Yeah. So, but yeah, when John Mitchell left,
but who's going to trust John Mitchell's opinion about rugby?
he ain't too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. The Gloucester match was fun. It was really cool to we went from like the fan zone to walk to the stadium. And that was a lot of fun. And people were interviewing me. Japanese TV interviewed me because of my face paint. Like, so really credit to the missus for that one, honestly, because she did it, because I ain't doing that on my own.
So what Jared is saying without saying it is, remember the guy in Japan who painted his shirt with that's Jared inspired that. That's really what we're getting down.
2015 version.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, no, I'll never forget that experience ever.
2015 was a hell of an experience, and even it may have been a painful experience for an England fan, but I went to quite a few games regardless, and it was so nice to have that on our doorstep. It was unforgettable.
Yeah, couldn't pass it up when I really thought about it. I was like, nope, got to do it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it'd be. We need to get the team together for a World Cup one day. Wherever it is, all of us.
France isn't that far away.
France is not that hard. The 27 might be here.
Well, that would be nice. Yeah. I would hope. Oh, that would be fantastic.
Imagine. Right, we've got two more questions. One is from our good friend who currently sat at the top of the Champions League, Mr. Anton Homan. Lovely guy, great trash talker. And the funny thing is, he's flying at the top of the league, giving us all the reviews. But he hasn't resorted to 32-12 yet, so fair play.
Give him credit for that at least.
But Anton has asked us, which country do you think knows their rugby best?
That's such a loaded question. Such a loaded question. Oh man, I mean, hey, if you want to talk about like who's the most successful in that terms, then obviously it goes down to the World Cups, and that's New Zealand and South Africa right now. But you can't just lean on that. It's not here, I can tell you that much. I think it's all a part of different games, really, like different types of games. Like if you want to understand how to just batter a team, you're going to just go to South Africa and ask them and get that and get the lowdown on that. You want to understand how to play attacking in space with kicks, go to the Kiwis. They kick more than anybody thinks, and it's because they want to play in broken fields,
right? And
they do it quite well if you haven't checked,
right?
And then obviously, there is quite a well-roundedness that can come from a lot of English rugby, but right now Eddie's just not doing it justice.
Yeah. But as far as like if people and fans are concerned, I mean, yeah, everybody knows their brand of rugby.
Maybe that's more it.
And so it's like the South Africans know South African rugby, the Irish know Irish rugby, like as far as the style of play, and here's what and so they consider that to be rugby. So it is kind of a loaded question in that, like, yeah, all the fans know their game. I get the feeling though that the Kiwis are the ones who really like, they'll see the opening when the players do. Like they'll see the play coming too, and you can hear the build there with the fans in the building, rather than just like I
have to admit, like as a player sort of playing sort of amateur level in the UK, we get people coming from all over the world because I live just outside London, so we often get a lot of people coming over the world. And it's the Kiwis. If I ever play with a Kiwi, I'm always learning. I'm constantly learning and reading the game in a completely different way. But that said, I mean, come on, everyone who I met who's a rugby fan, there's just some good people there. It's the rugby culture is strong, regardless of the country.
It's in their culture. It's what they do. So and they know they can be like, yeah, I understand what the South Africans are doing there. I just don't like it because that's not the way we play.
A lot of people might say that too.
But I've talked to people who are very knowledgeable, for like Irish rugby. We had a coach who kind of volunteered with our team a little bit, who would like, well, this is how Ireland does it, and it's like, well, that's great how Ireland does it, but how are Ireland doing right now? Like, let's talk about playing, more than just that one thing. And because Boston being and there's a couple Irish people in Boston if you don't know.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of the rugby in Boston is very Irish centric. So it's like, talking to him, I'm like, you're and I'm no disrespect to him, that's why I'm not naming him, but it's like, you're not bringing anything new that these players don't know already, like how to bash somebody and how to play in tight quarters. It's the overall play that we need to. So. Yeah, I find that a lot of the countries know their individual style of play, and that's about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I also feel like a lot of in-country rugby is known well, and then outside of that, it's tough to pick a country that knows it across the board.
Right.
Well,
because there is that. Yeah, the Kiwis are a little bit dismissive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
They do stuff up there.
Yeah,
they call it rugby.
And I think the lucky thing for Ben and I in this situation, as lucky as we may or may not be as Americans and American rugby fans, Ben and I don't have to be centered to one country, one team, one league. We can have a nice scope and understand what's going on with, God rest the Jaguars, all them, the Sunwolves, and then, all the South African teams, the Kiwis, Super Rugby AU. And then come to the Northern Hemisphere and go across all the good teams, the high-end teams in the Champions Cup, and then, pick them apart in their own leagues as well. So that's the fun part. And, we hope that international feel obviously comes to the MLR as that gets better, So that'll be good, and you'll figure out which teams are playing which style, but just by where the coach is from. I think the Arrows are from have Howley, so obviously
interesting.
So that'll influence their play. I have a feeling. A little Welsh to them.
Nice one. Well, good answer to a very loaded question there.
Yeah, doing our best to that.
And then coming full circle with our final question. So coming back to the podcast, tell me about your favorite podcast that you've done.
I think that when we did our first Six Nations preview with James, the three of us, I laughed my ass off all the way through that.
Oh my God, did I ever?
Like that to me was my favorite one to do. Just for that, and then the follow up when we closed it out.
Yeah, that was. Oh man, talking about wooden handles and.
I mean, see, that's the thing. I don't even remember what we talked about.
I remember that part. I remember that part quite vividly.
No, it sounds like I should remember it.
Smoothing down the handle and whatnot. That, and then we talked about for me, as far as like just other moments, doing the podcast with Sam was so much fun.
Oh, that was
when
great.
We did that.
That wasn't our podcast.
Yeah, it wasn't, but it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The first Six Nations podcast was a goddamn riot. My goodness, I've not gotten to the level of almost peeing myself while doing a podcast since, and we've laughed pretty hard at a lot of them, but that was pretty bad. Yeah. And then the one we did at the pub downtown with Tony and Tig.
Yeah, watching
that
was
that was a really good time. And we didn't end up putting. I think the recordings on YouTube. I don't think the audio was actually ever distributed, but that's okay. It's out there. And that was a lot of fun. It was good. It was good interchange because sometimes it was the four of us. Sometimes it was you and Tig. Sometimes it was me and Tig. Sometimes it was you and Tony. Right. And it was good interchange to just be able to mix it up, mix and match as we did. And it was, just picking the brains of a couple of guys that have seen quite a bit of the world and played
professionally,
played at good levels. Yeah. So, Tig is formerly of Connacht. So,
he's is he the Free Jacks now?
Yes. Yep. Yes. And then obviously Tony is in the Free Jacks and has had a cup of coffee with a couple other teams as well, along with the Eagles. Yeah. So, yeah, just to hear their experiences was really cool. And we were watching like Samoa Island or something like that.
Yeah, I think
that sounds about right. It was just it was a bit of a shit show, but that's all right. Just the talking with them was a lot of fun as well. So yeah, I mean, really.
And the 19 Crimes lady, I think we have her on too, to plug her stuff.
Yeah, we were because they were feeding me something that was delicious. That's all I know. It tasted amazing. I was a little loopy afterwards, but it was amazing.
It's
so
a winery. So we
keep feeding.
Yeah,
like if you want to keep feeding me that beautiful stuff, you can talk for 5 minutes. Right. I'm good.
Yeah.
So that's why we let her do that. I was like, yeah, this tastes pretty good. I still have a mug too.
I still have the shirts too.
Oh, I don't even know what I did with my shirt. That's gone. I think that's gone. But I still have the mug. It works quite well.
Nice.
Those are fun. Those are a good time.
Awesome. Well, here's to the next 100, guys.
Yeah. Thanks.
Congrats on the huge milestone, and onwards and upwards. Keep on going.
George, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, man.
It's a pleasure. And especially to be part of this big milestone episode.
Yeah, well, maybe we get to 500 sometime.
Well, let's get to 200.
I guess we can.
We'll take it 100 at a time.
Man, we got to go slow about this. Oh shit! Yeah, I guess we got to 200. 101. We got to 100 before we could even think about it. So maybe that'll be here before we know it. So that'll be good. So it's a lot of fun. We appreciate you. We appreciate our better halves for putting up with our bullshit, especially when we first started the whole thing. And we weren't in this place where there's space. Right. We were in my 1-bedroom tiny home that we had to ban my wife to the bedroom for. Right. And God bless her for doing that. And even when we went over to your place a couple times for a couple of the draft ones, just to for your missus to put up with me coming in with all my bullshit
and the dog not getting in the way too much.
That's right, the dog. Yeah, keep an eye on the dog. That usually helps too. It helps when the dog's not howling in the middle of the podcast.
That's true. You did that for our first live draft, I think it was.
Yeah, but we really cut it out. No big deal. Yeah. NBD. It was minimum at best. So yeah, we made it. Who knew? But awesome. So for everybody that's listening, we'll be back to business this week. Mm-hmm. We got Prem to talk about. We got Six Nations to talk about. It's gonna be hopefully a fun time. Six Nations is up in the air. Something some bullshit about there.
The international travel being
iffy.
Yeah, as far as we know, it's still
happening
as planned, but who knows? I mean, things change quickly.
They're not very. That's one thing that's frustrating for us as Americans. We're used to when sports do things here. Here it is. This is what's happening. Whether it's an injury, whether it's a trade or something like that. With rugby, the
news has been very scarce on the ground.
I think I saw a tweet 2 days ago that was like, it's off. They just won't formally announce it. It's like, okay, but can is that real?
Is that a good source, or are you just bullshitting me? Like, what are you doing? So I never know.
Hopefully, you
play to the whistle. That's just
that's pretty much where we're at this point. Yeah. But so thank you to all of you that tuned in with us. And we'll be back next week. But thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks,
everybody.